Hello fans! Now I know it took a while, but we're back with another Warhammer 40k lore video. And the reason why it took so long is because right after filming my reaction to the Bricky Warhammer 40k lore video, I was skimming through the internet just to find some good lore videos I could watch on Warhammer 40k, and you know, there's a lot. There's a lot of fucking lore. I've seen in the comments people have been telling me the Bricky lore video covers about 0.00001% of the lore, and the series has like what, 600 books. It's fucking insane. And so I don't think I could possibly make enough videos covering all of Warhammer 40k lore. I want to make videos on the most prominent parts of the series before maybe I dive into the games or maybe watch even more lore. As for Warhammer lore videos, there's probably going to be 2 more. So this one we're doing the Emperor, and then up next is the Horus heresy. If you're going to start anywhere in a world, it should be with the human story on it. So let's get fucking started. 1 hour, 25 minutes, the shortest Warhammer 40k lore video in the world. Now, I do have to say, I started a new channel called Vinny TV. That's where all the non-anime stuff is going to be. So if you're interested in stuff that isn't anime, just stuff about me talking about anything the internet has to offer or the things of like my interest, you can go check out that channel and just subscribe there instead of the anime channel, because I don't want to leave you guys with, you know, nothing if you're going to subscribe to the channel. So let's get fucking started.
Victory. That is what the preachers cry from the spires of their temples. And though we are beset on all sides, with each battle we drive back the mutant, the heretic, the alien. Taking the fight to the enemy.
I've heard Film Comics Explained is a very good YouTube channel, so if you guys haven't checked it out, you should, because I'm pretty sure they explain lore extremely well. Where is this cinematic from? I'm assuming Space Marines too.
Sing of victory,
or maybe one.
As the galaxy burns, victory as the Imperium rots around us. Victory.
Hey guys, what's happening? Nikaea here with Film Comics Explained. As voted for by everyone in the latest poll, over the next few weeks we're going to be diving into the expansive Warhammer 40k universe. In this massive video, I'm going to do my best to provide an introductory overview of the timeline for the Emperor of Mankind, exploring his origin, the Unification Wars and the birth of the Thunder Warriors, the Great Crusade, the construction of the Imperial Webway, the horror of the Horus Heresy, his role in the 41st millennia, and his—
Wait, so the Horus Heresy is also explained here. Should I be watching this video? Maybe I'll watch it. I'll watch it anyways.
I'm planning on covering many more topics in the 40k universe over the next few months in more detail, but the purpose of this video is to provide insight and a brief overview of the Emperor of Mankind's influence on humanity's future. If there's a particular thing discussed here that you want me to explore further, or if there's an—
I'm actually very interested in the Emperor. Like, so far he sounds like the most interesting character. Almost like a mosaic figure. And you know how I love my mosaic figures.
40k topic altogether that you want to see, please don't hesitate to let me know in the comments below.
Guardian of humanity. Wow.
Thoughts like the darkness that others may cross space. We are one with the Emperor. Our souls are joined in his will. Praise the Emperor, who sacrificed his life as ours is death. Hail his name, the Master of Humanity.
The Master of Humanity?
The revered Emperor of Mankind, venerated as the God Emperor, Master of Mankind, or simply the Emperor by his loyal followers and known as Revelation in his own terms, is an eternal perpetual and a formidable psycho, reigning over the Imperium.
Listen, if I was living in a world where there were people and these people were just constantly like shouting the Emperor's name as like the master of humanity, I wouldn't hesitate to maybe, you know, like, you got it, bro. You got it.
Man.
You don't got no challenge. Who wants to usurp you?
The Imperial ecclesiarchy and the Imperial cult honor him as humanity's father, protector, and deity. To the chaos gods and the demons of the warp, he is the anathema, representing the ultimate force of cosmic order in the galaxy, and the staunchest adversary of chaos. His status as the most powerful human psyker ever is both historic and current. For over 10,000 standard years, he's been confined in a state of physical decay to the golden throne of terror. His once vital form is now a crumbling shell, sustained only by his own cybernetic systems and his own.
So he's been alive for a very long time, and the only thing keeping him alive is fucking technology and sheer fucking will. If anyone else was strapped up to that chair, it's fucking done. It's over. They're dead.
Which itself relies on the daily sacrifice of thousands. The Emperor willingly gave up his eternal life for the safeguarding and service of mankind at the conclusion of the Horus heresy. To the innumerable trillions of humans across the vast Imperium, he is deified. His Imperium unites humanity, maintaining it as one of the most powerful and dominant intelligent species in the Milky Way, both in population and territorial control.
Okay, I heard Milky Way.
United under a single regime, continues to endure against a multitude of lethal threats, including alien forces, the chaos, and...
Do you think this is where humanity's leading? Eventually, all these countries come together under a single regime. Probably when we meet aliens, right? Because at that point, that it'll drive the regime closer and closer and faster, because we have to unite against a single enemy.
Eternal adversaries like traitors, heretics, and mutants within the Imperium's own borders. The governance of the Imperium, conducted in the Emperor's stead by the High Lords of Terror and various Imperial organizations since the Horus Heresy's conclusion, has been marked by longevity, oppression, and necessary severity. This rule has led to a standstill in both technological advancement and cultural development, evolving into a regime characterized by tyranny, superstition, and a rigid, intolerant religious dogma, conditions that would have been abhorrent to the Emperor. Despite his current state of unresponsiveness to external stimuli, the Emperor remains central to the Imperium's survival. His physical presence...
So this is after the Emperor, how do you say it? Becomes deceased. I'm gonna say deceased because I don't know if he's actually deceased or not. He seems like he's still alive, just not operative. So after he fell, things went into stagnation,
Golden Throne,
or became stagnant.
Involved in the day-to-day affairs of the galactic human government is crucial for the Imperium's sustenance. His formidable psychic presence in the Immaterium sustains and guides the Astronomicon, a psychic lighthouse essential for faster-than-light warp travel, which is indispensable for Imperial navigation, transportation, trade, and communication. However, the upkeep of the Astronomicon is not without cost. It necessitates the assistance of other psychers, whose life energies are gradually depleted by the Emperor to fuel the beacon. 1,000 psychers per day are sacrificed to preserve the Emperor's psychic might. The Emperor is believed to still impart guidance to his people through a psychically sensitive divination instrument known as the Emperor's Tarot. This tool enables chosen psychers to catch glimpses of future events and discern the Emperor's intentions. Additionally, it's claimed that he is perpetually engaged in combat with the Chaos Gods within the Warp, thwarting their attempts to further invade the material universe.
That's one hell of a story. That is one hell of a story. He's fighting everything after his death.
His consciousness is required to be eternally vigilant across the vast expanse of the Imperium, a necessary caution to ensure the protection and survival of the human race and to extend his safeguarding to those who are devout. Paramount to all is the collective belief of humanity in the Emperor's godliness that stands as the foremost shield against chaos, and the myriad of other horrific perils that infest the galaxy. The central tenet that the Emperor protects has been the cornerstone of the Imperial Creed for more than 10 millennia. As we go back in time to explore the history of the enigma that is the Emperor, we begin by covering two alternative histories. The first origin that is hotly disputed, and the currently recognized origin, which by large discredits the former, and accepts that the early history of the Emperor, especially before his efforts to unite terror during the Unification Wars, remain shrouded in mystery.
The Emperor protects. First origin of the Emperor, contested
The
history.
Emperor represents the unified reincarnation of all shamans from Neolithic humanity's diverse cultures, who were the earliest human psykers. The powerful, warped entities, which would later evolve into the four great powers of chaos, were not yet fully developed when the Emperor came into existence in prehistoric times. His birthplace is believed to be in ancient central Anatolia, in what is now modern Turkey, around the 8th millennium
Modern
BC,
Turkey?
long before the Age of Terror. As humanity advanced, the Immaterium, also known as the Warp, began to resonate more tumultuously with the dark aspects of humanity's...
That's interesting. They don't call it the same thing. Well, they said also known as the Warp. I'm assuming different cultures have different names for the same things.
Also known as the Warp, began to resonate more tumultuously with the dark aspects of humanity's collective psyche.
Mm-hmm.
This growing disturbance resulted in the shamans losing their ability to reincarnate. Upon death, instead of being reborn, their souls were devoured by the warp entities and demons. Facing the threat of extinction and the loss of their guiding psychic presence, which would leave humanity vulnerable to chaos's corruption, as later befell the Eldari, the shamans of Earth convened in a significant gathering to deliberate on a solution. Their decision led to a unique and drastic measure. They chose to merge their psychic energies into a singular soul within a single human body, an entity they termed the New Man.
Okay. Hold on, I'm pretty sure I'm right.
Coordinated act. The shamans consumed poison and died simultaneously, releasing their souls into the Immaterium. This surge of psychic energy overwhelmed the demons seeking to consume it, creating a purifying, indestructible flame that coalesced into a singular soul from the many.
The Emperor.
Giving birth to the Emperor.
Okay, bro. I thought the Emperor was somehow born regularly. Some 10-foot demigod, just popped out of a woman's fucking vagina. But goddamn, okay. But does this really consist as human then? Since he wasn't conceived regularly? Do people know that this is how he was born? Right? Because I'm assuming if they knew he was made out of, I don't know, created instead of born, it would affect his legitimacy as master of humanity.
Approximately one standard year following the shaman's collective reincarnation, a child destined to become the Emperor was born to ordinary parents in a Neolithic Anatolian community of herders and farmers, alongside normal siblings. His immense psychic power, evident from birth, transformed his genetic makeup and physiology while in the womb, granting him immortality. This meant he no longer needed to reincarnate and was impervious to attacks by demonic beings from the Immaterium.
Just doesn't die.
As he grew, his formidable psychic abilities began to surface. Over 38,000 Terran years, he roamed the Earth, silently observing and becoming part of human history.
Is this part of the Warhammer 40k art? Is this official art? This shit looks sick as fuck.
He mingled with the various human societies.
He's Batman.
Just a spectator of humanity's achievements and errors, he gradually started to intervene, dispensing his ancient knowledge to advance efficient governance, agriculture, animal breeding, technology, and peace. Originally, he exerted his influence subtly, assuming the role of an ordinary man and concealing his true identity. As centuries turned into millennia, the man who would be known as the Emperor observed human evolution. He traversed the globe, silently assisting, sometimes assuming the identity of a notable advisor or leader. In tumultuous periods, he took on roles such as a crusader, religious figure, or even a savior. Other times, he remained a behind-the-scenes force, serving as a counselor to rulers, a court sorcerer, and an innovative scientist. While many of his assumed identities were modest, others became significant figures in world history or religious lore. In critical moments, he was present, subtly guiding humanity along a precarious path to survival, visible only to him.
He was there when it mattered.
Throughout the millennia, as humanity flourished and progressed, the warp became more tumultuous. The individual who would be known as the Emperor was cognizant of how human nature's extremes were fueling the emerging chaos powers. Despite his endeavors to foster peace and harmony on old Earth, innate human traits...
Bro, this place looks sick as fuck.
Traits like martial valor, ambition, defiance, and the pursuit of personal gratification persisted and could not be completely eliminated. Not all of the new man's initiatives were fruitful. Attempts to implant wisdom sometimes backfired, leading to periods of persecution and warfare. The nascent Chaos Gods, aware of the new man, whom they termed Anathema, recognized his attempts to limit their influence and expansion. Even before reaching full consciousness in the Immaterium, these ruinous powers identified the man who would become the Emperor as their paramount adversary. Khorne, the first among the 4 major Chaos Gods to fully awaken, heralded his emergence with global wars and conflict. Following Khorne, Tzeentch awoke, bringing with him a maturity in nations and politics, laden with their inherent schemes and duplicities. Nurgle was the third to stir, unleashing plagues that swept across Old Earth's continents, claiming numerous souls for the Lord of Decay. By the end of the European Middle Ages on Terra, these 3 Chaos Gods had reached full consciousness. The 4th, Slaanesh, remained dormant, destined to be roused by the transgressions of another race.
Oh, we've seen these guys in the last lore video.
The Eldari. As the new man's psychic abilities evolved, he became increasingly aware of the grave perils that humanity would face in the expansive universe. And so, he committed himself to defending humanity and guiding it towards becoming the dominant species in the galaxy.
Nice.
During the final centuries of the Dark Age of technology, an increasing number of humans were born with mutant psychic genes, granting them the ability to harness the immense power of the Immaterium. This era witnessed the devastating impact of uncontrolled psykers, marking the beginning of the Age of Strife. Witnessing these events, the Emperor recognized the necessity of taking a more direct and overt role in human affairs. Following the birth of Slaanesh after the Eldari's fall in the 30th millennium, and the subsequent end of the warp storms that obstructed interstellar communication and travel from the Sol system.
Oh, bro, look at this badass, bro. Look at this guy. You unquestioned his authority.
The Emperor decided that it was time to actively direct the course of human history once again.
By force.
He saw this as imperative to prevent the extinction of the human race due to the calamities of Old Night.
Sacrifice some who. I don't even know the word.
The aforementioned history, though, is now largely viewed as apocryphal. In reality, the true origins and early history of the Emperor, especially before his efforts to unite Terra during the Unification Wars, remain shrouded in mystery. What is clear, however, is his identity as an immortal with extraordinary psychic abilities. The earliest reference to the Emperor in Imperial records dates back to his initiative to unify Terra, marking the end of the Age of Strife in the late 29th millennium. His son Horus once remarked that the Emperor had lived in Anatolia.
I heard Horus.
Own childhood during their initial encounter.
I'll play that again, I didn't hear it.
Marking the end of the Age of Strife in the late 29th millennium. His son Horus once remarked that the Emperor had lived in Anatolia in his own childhood during their initial encounter. It's established that the Emperor was born as an immortal Perpetual and was ancient even prior to his ascension to the Golden Throne 10,000 Terran years ago. The Emperor is recognized as the new man, a pioneer and the most formidable among the new mutant subspecies of human psykers. He symbolizes the collective reincarnation of extinct shamans, sorcerers, and wise men who guided primitive humanity in prehistoric times. As the Emperor matured, his powers began to surface and intensify. He gradually regained memories of his thousands of past lives, amalgamating their knowledge and experiences with his own. In his adolescence,
that's gotta be crazy. Imagine 1,000 lives flooding into your head all at once. Isn't this like Dune?
The future Emperor experienced a defining tragedy when his father was murdered by his uncle. During the preparation of his father's body for an archaic funeral ritual, he had a clairvoyant vision revealing the details of the murder. Subsequently, the young Emperor confronted his uncle, and with a subtle exertion of his telekinetic psychic powers, stopped his heart, showing no signs of either grief or spite for the act. He later reflected that this incident was the point at which he understood the necessity for humanity to have laws, order, and the leadership of a sagacious ruler to achieve its utmost potential. Following his father's death, he departed his village and headed towards what he called the first city of humanity, likely a reference to one of the Sumerian city-states in ancient Mesopotamia. For many millennia before his emergence as the Emperor, he observed and subtly influenced the course of human.
I like this so far. I like how they're mixing like real-world history and some space or sci-fi fictional aspects to it, right? Because already they mentioned Mesopotamia, and they mentioned one more real-life city. I forgot what it was though.
In history, assuming the identities of numerous historical figures. He recognized that the darker facets of human nature were nourishing the burgeoning chaos gods in the warp. In response, he endeavored to foster peace and harmony on old Earth to limit the growth of the ruinous powers. Regardless of the specifics of his origins, the man who would be known as the Emperor emerged as the most potent psyker in human history. Before his ascension to power, he lived as an anonymous Perpetual, belonging to a mutant strain of humanity endowed with near immortality due to their highly advanced and efficient cellular regeneration capabilities. The origin of the Perpetual's abilities, whether natural or externally induced, remains a mystery. During the era of humanity's earlier interstellar civilization, known as the Age of Technology, the Emperor was already present and was associated with other Perpetuals like himself. Among these was Olivia Sarica, a notable figure. In this period, Sarica, along with several other Perpetuals and the future Emperor, embarked on a journey to the night world of Molech on a one-way spacecraft. There, they discovered a portal to the realm of chaos, which the future Emperor bravely entered, gaining newfound powers and knowledge crucial for the eventual creation of the Primarchs.
He's getting more powers? Bro, I thought he was OP already. He's getting more and more. All right, hold on. Before we continue, I know there are Space Marines, and then there are Primarchs, and there are God Emperor. Like, is anyone actually stronger than the Emperor? Right? Because we've seen what Space Marines can do. We've seen what they can take down. We've seen I have a grasp of at least of what Primarchs can fucking do. Just how much stronger is the Emperor as compared to the Primarchs? That's what I want to know.
Were to be crafted through a blend of advanced
he looks unstoppable right now.
Following this event, the Emperor left Sarica to guard the Molech warp gate, awaiting the day it would be secured by the forthcoming Imperium of Man. It was only at the conclusion of the Age of Strife that the Emperor stepped out of the shadows to actively shape humanity's destiny. He undertook the monumental task of uniting the fragmented factions of Earth during the Unification,
his AI,
which commenced in the late 29th millennium and concluded in 712 M30, with his ascension to direct rule over old Earth. With a heavy heart, he accepted the loss of many innocents during his conquest, seeing it as a necessary sacrifice for the greater good of uniting humanity and shielding it from the tangible threats of the warp. In collaboration with the ancient Mechanicum government of Mars, the Emperor and the people of Terra formed a pivotal alliance through the Treaty of Mars. This treaty marked the formal establishment of the Imperium of Man in the late 30th millennium. Leveraging this partnership, the Emperor initiated the creation of the first Space Marines and a fleet of interstellar void ships poised to transport his armies across the galaxy.
Space Marines mentioned.
The goal was to launch the Great Crusade, aiming to unite all human colonized planets from the Age of Technology before the Age of Strife under a single Imperium of Man.
Okay. So humans have already expanded past Earth, right? That's why they mentioned Mars, and I'm guessing there are more planets occupied by humanity, and so the Emperor wants to bring together all of these planets occupied by humans. This is a tale as old as time, you know. One person wants to unite the entire world through war.
This crusade
seen how happen countless times.
Eliminate or exile all intelligent alien species within the Milky Way, asserting the galaxy as the rightful domain of humanity. Utilizing the knowledge he obtained through his pact with the Dark Gods on Molech, the Emperor, with the assistance of his biotechnical division scientists during the Unification Wars, crafted the 20 superhuman Primarchs. These Primarchs, whose gene seed later formed the basis for the Space Marines, were developed using the Emperor's own DNA. He envisioned them as his foremost military leaders, diplomats, and consuls for the Great Crusade. However, the Chaos Gods, intent on sabotaging the Emperor's monumental scheme, interfered before the Primarch's development was complete. While still in their gestation capsules within the subterranean genetic laboratories beneath the future Imperial Palace on Old Earth, the Primarchs were swept into the warp by the will of the Chaos Gods and dispersed across various human-occupied worlds in the galaxy. In this way, the influence of chaos had already marked the Primarchs even before their births.
Right. So now the God Emperor can't control them until, well, like, he technically can't control them, but I mean, he doesn't have as strong as influence on them as he wants.
During the Great Crusade, All but 2 of the 20 Primarchs were rediscovered and reunited with their respective Space Marine legions, which had been formed from the genetic material they left behind. As the Emperor ventured through the cosmos, some humans sought to deify him, a notion he strongly rejected, declaring, "I am not a god. Rather than enslaving humanity, I want to free it from ignorance and superstition." Nonetheless, Lorca, the Primarch of the Wordbearers Legion, yearning for a divine future for humanity to revere, succumbed to the persistent temptations of the Chaos Gods. After leading his legion to their service, he dispatched his first chaplain, Erebus, to subtly corrupt the minds of other Primarchs and their legions. At the pinnacle of the Imperium's expansion in the early 31st millennium, Horus, the Primarch of the Lunar Wolves Legion, subsequently renamed the Sons of Horus, and the Emperor's most trusted son was seduced by his own hubris, needs, and aspirations into aligning with chaos. His betrayal precipitated a colossal civil war for galactic dominance, known historically as the Horus Heresy.
Okay.
This conflict involved half of the Space Marine legions and numerous Imperial army regiments. Although the Emperor...
Alright, well, I guess I'm not making a Horus Heresy video. I guess I'm just not. This is it. This is part. It's ingrained in the story of the Emperor.
Ultimately triumphed over Horus during the traitor siege of Terra. He was grievously wounded, losing limbs and sustaining severe...
Well, I guess I am. I guess the Horus Heresy is over. Wow, that lasted about 8 seconds.
Systemic damage. His existence, teetering between life and death, has since been maintained by the life support systems of the Golden Throne. Within his physical confinement, only his mind remains active, roaming the immaterium, ceaselessly endeavoring to safeguard and steer humanity toward a progressively elusive, brighter future.
Unification Wars and the Breath of the Thunder Warriors.
As mentioned earlier, the individual who would later be revered as the Emperor of Mankind first emerged in Imperial archives as a warlord among many, vying for supremacy on Terra during the later stages of the Age of Strife in the early 29th millennium. With the assistance of his close ally and collaborator, Malcador the Sigillite, the Emperor embarked on a series of military offensives against various techno-barbarian warlords on the planet. It is these campaigns that would collectively come to be known as the Unification Wars. In these battles,
Crusaders!
the Emperor deployed numerous military units, including genetically enhanced warriors, who would later join the Imperial army. Among the most formidable of these forces were the Proto-Astartes, known as the Thunder Warriors. The Thunder Warriors, though physically superior and more lethal in combat than the subsequently created Space Marines, were not without flaws. Developed from adult soldiers through accelerated genetic, bionic, and chemical augmentations, many struggled with the drastic changes. Issues like metabolic collapse leading to a sudden death.
So they didn't take their time creating these guys. They did it quick, and so they have a lot of faults with them. Okay.
As they aged, many Thunder Warriors became susceptible to mental instability and psychosis. Despite these challenges, the Thunder Warriors were instrumental in the Emperor's ultimate triumph over Terra's warlords. The success led him to conclude that his grand vision of reuniting humanity across the galaxy necessitated the creation of a more advanced and reliable core of genetically engineered military commanders and warriors.
Right.
After the pivotal battle on Mount Ararat in the Kingdom of Aratu, which some accounts cite as the concluding conflict of the Unification Wars, Terra finally achieved unity. The victory, won through centuries of strife, bloodshed, and sacrifice, brought the entire planet and its populace under the singular dominion of the Emperor. Yet to realize his vision of a united human empire spanning the galaxy, the Emperor recognized the necessity of making some challenging and potentially unethical choices. With the Thunder Warriors having served their purpose, the Emperor decreed their elimination. Their genetic flaws and increasing mental instability made them a liability in time.
I mean, it makes sense, but it's still dick move. But, you know, you gotta do what you gotta do sometimes.
Their removal was essential to pave the way for their successors, the Primarchs and the Space Marines. Indeed, the Emperor's concerns about his creations were not unfounded. Another account suggests that even before the Unification Wars concluded, the Thunder Warriors came to understand the curse of their shortened lifespans due to imperfect genetic enhancements, and, feeling betrayed, they rebelled against their creator. In response, a group of several hundred custodians, allegedly led by the legendary Constantin Valdor, along with thousands of prototype Astartes from the newly formed 1st Legion of Space Marines, defended the Emperor. They executed a ruthless purge of these obsolete and mutinous gene warriors. While a number of Thunder Warriors did manage to evade the purge, the majority who'd survived the Unification Wars ultimately fell at the hands of their own comrades. Some of these Thunder Warriors, either alone or in small factions like the Datar, during the early stages of the Great Crusade Cerberus insurrection, managed to persist. They led largely inconspicuous and desolate lives amidst Terra's populace, stripped of their past glories and constantly in fear of being exposed. The Imperium, however, largely assumed all Thunder Warriors were deceased, and did not actively pursue them, focusing its resources on the ongoing Great Crusade. With that said, Imperial propaganda maintained that the Thunder Warriors had valiantly perished to the last during the Battle of Mount Ararat.
I was gonna bite them in the ass.
Warrior, Arik Taranis, symbolically raising the Emperor's banner in the moment of triumph. Nevertheless, the reality was somewhat different. Several Thunder Warriors, including Taranis, evaded what they termed the culling, and Taranis in particular was destined to play a further role in the future of the Emperor's dominion. With Terra unified, the Emperor commenced his grand strategy to protect and uplift humanity throughout the galaxy. This monumental mission aimed to reunite the scattered remnants of mankind under the banner of the newly established Imperium, an endeavor that would come to be celebrated as the Great Crusade.
I've seen the cinematic before, I think.
We must not falter. We are his sword. We are his wrath.
Oh? Is that a woman? Woman Space Marine?
Faith is our armor.
I didn't know that was a thing.
And for those who prove worthy, the Emperor sends forth his angels.
The Great Crusade.
The Imperium, how mighty its aspect, how far-reaching its boundaries. As one world dies, 10 more are brought into the fold. Fear us, for we count the lives of planets, not men. Post-unity on Terra, the Emperor meticulously prepared for the Great Crusade. He established the Astropath Corps, a group of special astro-telepaths to ensure communication across his future interstellar realm via telepathy. Additionally, he engineered the Astronomicon, a potent psychic navigational beacon fueled by his own will and psychic strength. This beacon would facilitate easier and safer interstellar travel through the warp, covering distances previously unimaginable. Yet the cornerstone of his preparations was the creation of new legions of transhuman, genetically enhanced warriors.
Fuck Space Marines V2.
Were an advanced evolution of the gene troopers he'd commanded, designed to be vastly superior to the gene-enhanced troops of the Imperial Army used during the Unification Wars. The Emperor embarked on the Primarch project, creating 20 superhuman infants with genomes based on his own DNA.
I thought we'd been through this already, no? These don't look like the same people. Are they the same people? I don't know.
Primarchs were destined to grow into formidable generals and statesmen for his armies, possessing such exceptional mental and physical prowess that no ordinary human could rival them. To elevate the Primarchs beyond the limits of genetic engineering, the Emperor also utilized the powers of the warp, knowledge he'd acquired at Molech.
Rogal Dorn kind of looks like Titus.
This infusion bestowed nearly divine levels of charisma and ability upon them, but also inadvertently rendered them vulnerable to corruption by warp entities. The ruinous powers, fearing the success of the Emperor's plan to unite and uplift humanity, intervened. They perceived the potential for the Emperor's success to greatly amplify the influence of order in the universe.
Yo, the tongue game on that bitch. Gotta go crazy,
by
bro.
weakening their own power. This is why all beings of demonkind refer to the Emperor as the Anathema, representing the antithesis of chaos in the metaphysical realm.
This Emperor, man, this main character of the world, I'm assuming, right? I know we got Titus, main character of the show. Then we probably got some other main character of the game. Well, the entire universe, the Emperor's the main character. He's the one. All right, he's fighting against concepts of chaos. How do you do that as a physical being?
Various accounts exist detailing the incident, but the outcome remains consistent. The Primarchs in their gestation chambers were cast into the warp from beneath the Himalayan mountains in the Emperor's gene laboratories, despite the multiple psychic wards he had placed. Believed to be lost, This event marked a significant turning point. In response to this setback, the Emperor devised an alternative strategy. Utilizing genetic material derived from the Primarch's genomes, he created a new class of warriors imbued with some of the Primarchs and his own superhuman traits. These warriors, successors to the genetically enhanced human soldiers of the Unification Wars era, were the Legions Astartes, the Space Marine legions of the first founding. Following their creation, the Emperor led these 20 Space Marine legions, initially comprised of Terran-born adolescent males on their initial missions. These operations aimed to provide them with practical experience in warfare and diplomacy, particularly through the reconquest of the Sol system. The Space Marines successfully expelled alien slavers from Saturn and Jupiter's moons, and, most crucially, secured peace and integration between Imperial Terra and the ruling Mechanicum of Mars. This significant military and political union was formalized in the 30th millennium with the Treaty of Mars, providing the Emperor with the technological resources and materials necessary to expand his crusade into the stars.
Right.
Simultaneously, this alliance marked the formal establishment of the Imperium of Man and laid the foundation for the Imperial bureaucracy on Terra. It integrated the Mechanicum as a key component of the Nascent Adeptus Terra, the extensive administrative body of the Imperium, later to be known as the Priesthood of Earth. The termination of the warp storms, triggered by the emergence of the Chaos God Slanesh and culminating with the fall of the Eldari, paved the way for the Emperor to launch the Great Crusade around 798 M30, commencing with the renowned First Pacification of Luna. The Emperor's forces, distributed among an expanding array of expeditionary fleets, embarked on a mission to reconnect with long-forgotten human colonies, overthrow alien tyrants, and annex extensive new territories for the burgeoning Imperium across the galaxy. A pivotal aspect of the Great Crusade was the Emperor's personal quest to find his scattered sons, the Primarchs. As the expeditionary fleets ventured further into uncharted regions...
Okay, so from what I'm understanding is that Primarchs are basically the Emperor's sons, but pretty sure he made new ones, right? Because like the first batch, I'm gonna call them a batch, right? First batch that he made was intervened by the gods of chaos, and then they got sent into different fucking directions, like the goddamn Dragon Balls, and he's gotta find them all again. Since he was busy at the time, he couldn't find them, and so he baked a new batch of Primarchs.
Of space. The Primarchs were located, one after another, over many solar decades. Each was integrated with their biological progeny in the Space Marine legions, and their father, assuming leadership of the Astartes legions derived from their unique gene seed, and they played an instrumental role in the construction of their father's empire. Together, they secured the allegiance of thousands of worlds to the Imperium, enforcing imperial compliance and instilling the principles of the imperial truth. This ideology, rooted in materialism and atheism, championed reason, science, and technological advancement, while renouncing all forms of human irrationality and superstition, including religious belief. The Emperor's commitment to spreading the doctrines of the imperial truth was driven by his conviction that only by diminishing faith and other irrational human tendencies could he begin to weaken the influence of chaos in the warp. The Emperor himself proclaimed that humanity would not achieve its destiny as the dominant intelligent species in the Milky Way galaxy until the last stone from the last church was cast down onto the last priest. By the inception of the Great Crusade, he'd already cleansed ancient Terra of its age-old religions and superstitious beliefs. This included personally overseeing the demolition of Terra's final church.
I am the one.
Clergyman, Uriah Olither, in a profound exchange of ideas, wit, and doctrine. The imperial truth further posited that humanity, owing to its supposedly pure physical form, was the rightful ruler of the galaxy. This belief was bolstered by the failures of other intelligent alien races like the Eldari in sustaining galaxy-spanning civilizations. Now it was deemed humanity's turn to carve its legacy among the stars. Since almost all intelligent alien species encountered by humanity were either inherently hostile or potential future threats to human supremacy and exploitation of the galaxy, the general policy was to eradicate any Xenos species posing even the slightest risk to the Imperium. The Emperor held that the imperial truth must be disseminated to all human worlds, initially through peaceful means, but by war if necessary. He believed that absolute unity was imperative for humanity's survival and prosperity in the face of a universe fraught with hostility. He recognized that enforcing the imperial truth might necessitate the regrettable use of force against those resistant to its essential nature, and Echoing his sentiments from the Unification Wars, he grieved the loss of innocent lives and the suppression of individual freedoms that occasionally resulted.
He seems like an asshole, right? He does asshole things, but goddamn, is he a good person? He cares. He cares of all of us. The only thing I can think of right now is that this needs a TV show. This needs a TV show ASAP. Secret Level, episode 5 is super well done, super good, right? We just have a TV show starting from the Emperor in his conception to the end of his life. I think Warhammer 40k will absorb so many new fans. It's insane. It's crazy.
From the Great Crusade's fleets. Nevertheless, he deemed these sacrifices necessary to protect humanity and simultaneously diminish the pervasive, corruptive influence of the ruinous powers. While championing reason and science, the Imperial truth strictly forbade one particular technological advancement, the creation of machines capable of true thought, known as artificial general intelligence. You see, the Emperor recalled the catastrophic war against the Men of Iron, sentient machines that played a pivotal role in the downfall of humanity's last united interstellar civilization.
I remember that. That was that? I'm pretty sure the invention of AI in the Warhammer 40k world led to something huge, like some type of war.
During the Dark Age of technology, keen to avoid repeating historical errors, it was determined not to see humanity succumb to such perils again.
Right.
Therefore, when the Great Crusade's expeditionary fleets encountered advanced human civilizations in the depths of space that had developed artificial general intelligences, these societies were eradicated without exception, deemed threats to the safety and integrity of the emerging Imperium. The universe has many horrors yet to throw at us. This is not the end of our struggle. This is just the beginning of our crusade to save humanity. Be faithful, be strong, be vigilant. As the Great Crusade advanced, there grew an escalating concern regarding the use of psychic sorcery within the ranks of the Imperium. The Emperor, despite being the most formidable human psyker ever known, harbored deep reservations about the increasing prevalence of mutant psychogenes among the human population. He believed that most of humanity was not sufficiently evolved, either physically or spiritually, to safely harness the immense power of the warp, or to resist the corruptive lures and temptations of its
You guys aren't me.
Increasingly, the Imperial Army and the Space Marines discovered upon their arrival on various planets that the local populations were under the sway of enigmatic forces and unnatural mystics known as sorcerers. These individuals were typically adherents of chaos cults, wielding sorcerers' psychic powers bestowed upon them by demonic entities from the warp. Such powers bore a striking resemblance to those employed by the Thousand Sons Legion, led by Primarch Magnus the Red. The use of sorcery by the Thousand Sons had attracted severe criticism, particularly from Primarch Mortarion of the Death Guard Legion, who had first-hand experience with the perils of sorcery on his homeworld of Barbarous. Additionally, Leman Russ of the Space Wolves Legion disapproved, holding the view that any form of combat relying on deception, cunning, or anything other than direct physical engagement was inherently dishonorable. Vehemently opposed to the Thousand Sons' use of sorcery, Russ was a driving force behind the movement to outlaw psychic powers within the Imperium. His conviction stemmed from his experience in several Great Crusade campaigns, where his Space Wolves Legion had allied with the Thousand Sons. The growing rift over this issue began to threaten the very cohesion of the nascent Imperium, prompting the Emperor to summon an Imperial conclave to definitively address the matter. Both proponents and opponents of psychic powers converged on the world of Nikaea, each side resolute in presenting their arguments before the Emperor, who presided as the final arbiter. The conclave convened in an ancient amphitheater, accommodating tens of thousands, where the Emperor sat elevated above the assembly. The witch hunters, including the Sisters of Silence, represented one side of the debate. They catalogued the myriad of horrors wrought by sorcerers under the thrall of what would later be recognized during the Horus heresy as chaos. Their testimony included accounts of deranged mutants stripped of their humanity, cults and individuals who had twisted their psychic gifts for malevolent ends. The assembly was also reminded of the catastrophic consequences wrought by uncontrolled and demon-possessed psych.
I'm sorry, bro. Look at the way this guy's built. If goddamn fucking Hercules, he's got big ass fucking man hands.
Contrastingly, the other side of the debate was championed by the imposing figure of Primarch Magnus the Red. Despite his intimidating presence, Magnus spoke with compelling charisma unique to a
Oh,
Primarch.
that's Magnus the
He argued
Red.
that knowledge itself was never corrupt, and the pursuit of understanding was always justified, provided the seeker remained the master of their learning, not its pawn. Magnus the Red asserted with conviction that his 1,000 sons Astartes had thoroughly mastered the art of sorcery, claiming no realm of knowledge too complex for them to comprehend or harness in service of humanity. He urged the Emperor not to prohibit psychic abilities, but to promote further research in their use, so they might be more effectively utilized for the betterment of humanity and the Imperium. It was said that Magnus the Red's passionate and powerful speech at the council deepened the divide among the participants. Although the witch hunters had solid arguments to support their anti-psyker stance, they struggled to match the persuasiveness of his arguments. Tension was palpable when a contingent of Space Marine librarians approached the dais. Acknowledged by the Emperor with a nod, their arrival hushed the assembly. Among them were some of the most esteemed librarians from the Space Marine legions, forming a semicircle around the dais to symbolize their unified stance. It was a young librarian epistolary who articulated their collective viewpoint. He analogized the psyker to an athlete, a naturally talented individual whose abilities required careful cultivation. He argued that psykers were not inherently evil, rather, they were tools that could be wielded for good or ill. Sorcery, however, was a different matter.
Right, it's just a tool. It's just a tool, right? Like a gun. Do you use it to defend people or hurt people?
It entailed the knowledge of harnessing psychic powers that often involved seeking, sometimes even negotiating with the malevolent entities of the warp. With these kind of dealings, it was impossible to ascertain who or what ultimately gained from such exchanges. The librarians put forward a proposition that all psykers should be rigorously educated under the Imperium's guidance, specifically to utilize their abilities in service to mankind. This education of psykers was suggested to be an immediate Imperial imperative. Additionally, they advocated for the absolute prohibition of sorcery, labeling it an unforgivable transgression against humanity and a grave form of heresy. The council also functioned as a trial for Magnus the Red, who faced accusations of practicing sorcery and
Dude, we're 37 minutes into the video. My head feels like it's about to fucking explode. It's overloading with fucking information.
introducing such practices to the Space Marine legions, particularly through his role in establishing the librarians. As evidence of his continued engagement with sorcery emerged, the Emperor struggled to restrain his anger while delivering judgment on the Primarch of the 1,000 Sons. Years prior, the Emperor had entrusted Magnus alone with the deeper secrets of the warp, warning him of the inherent dangers and strictly instructing him to renounce occult practices. However, it now seemed that Magnus had defied his commands, engaging in the taboo realms of psychic sorcery. This father-son confrontation is detailed in the Grimoire Hereticus. The Emperor's verdict was harsh, fueled by his frustration with Magnus. He outright dismissed the librarian's suggestions for a compromise. Except for navigators and astropaths, who were essential for the Imperium's survival and were strictly trained, regulated, and sanctioned, the use of psykers within the Space Marine legions was henceforth forbidden. And so, the Emperor decreed that the Primarchs must immediately shut down the librarious divisions within their legions and cease nurturing the inherent psychic abilities of those Astartes. All existing Space Marine librarians were also ordered to refrain from using their
Is that fucking Adolf Hitler? That's fucking Hitler.
powers and to rejoin the ranks as regular line warriors. The decision led to the establishment of a new role within the Space Marine legions, the Space Marine Chaplain. This position was created to reinforce the Imperial truth and ensure the unwavering commitment and loyalty of an Astartes legion to the Emperor's directives. Magnus was also once again directed by the Emperor to abandon all sorcerous practices in the pursuit of knowledge pertaining to magic. While Magnus was visibly resistant and deeply aggrieved by the outcomes, he ultimately acquiesced to the Emperor's will, though the influence of the ruinous powers would eventually steer Magnus the Red and his 1,000 sons towards a much grimmer destiny. The edicts remained the foundational Imperial policy regarding human psychic mutation for the subsequent 10,000 standard years. The prohibition against the use of librarians within the ranks of the Space Marines, and later the Astra Militarum, was the only aspect eventually overturned. This change was driven by the revelations of the Horus heresy, which underscored to the Imperium's leadership the critical necessity of Astartes and other sanctioned psykers in countering the might of the Chaos forces.
Alright, hold on guys. I'm gonna stop the video here, and I'm gonna make a part 2 because my mind is overflowing with information right now. I need time to digest this, maybe even rewatch it, and then continue on tomorrow. You guys will have the part 2 up fucking soon. I guarantee you that. But wow, I can see why this series has more than 600 books, bro. At one point in the video, they mentioned a battle on in a certain area, and the only thing I was thinking to myself was, wow, this battle must have taken one entire book. Does anyone know how thick the books are? Right? Because when it comes into my head, when I'm thinking Warhammer 40k books, I'm thinking this thick. I'm thinking fucking Harry Potter thick, right? But if it's like, you know, manageable, like this thick, I think it's definitely doable. But yeah, the God Emperor, bro, the God fucking Emperor. It's the start of the Warhammer 40k experience. I feel like there's no better place to start than the Emperor, right? Because he represents all of humanity. I'm pretty sure there's more lore of humanity before the Emperor, but I feel like it wouldn't be as important, right? Because I remember from Biggy's video that not much humanity didn't do much until the Emperor came along and dragged them to fucking greatness. And so yeah, I'm gonna have to finish the video tomorrow, but I'll catch you guys next time. Goodbye.